Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the best in the world, Chris Van Vliet.
What an intro. I think that might be my new favorite intro. If you haven't yet, please take a second right now to, click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more awesome conversations like this one with Greg Hamilton. Okay, look at this beautiful fireside chat we have going on here.
It is, yeah.
Oh, it's nice to be able to talk to a person in person.
How long has it been for you since you've actually sat down like this and had an interview?
Since March. Yeah, so right before, the pandemic happened. So,
Wow.
And it just so happens that you and I live in the same city.
It's true. We're in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah.
I feel like this is an exclusive right now. Your first in-person interview. Thank you for having me, man.
Well,
Seriously.
come on. Thank you for inviting me into your home. And anyone who might have watched your WWEats video on the WWE YouTube channel, they might recognize this spot here.
Yeah, this is the hub. This is, the lab, if you will, the Hamilton Hideaway where we do all the cooking, and this is sort of the backdrop for it. And it's funny because, I love to cook, and I put these videos up, but I actually get more comments, or as many comments, about my loft than I do the food. So
As soon as I saw your video, I said, hold on a second, you live there?
Yeah.
It looks like we're in some industrial kitchen or some beautiful downtown steakhouse or something like that.
It's just my loft, man. It's where I lay my weary head at night. That's it. That's all this is.
For one night a week, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Although that's different now. You're not on the road nearly as much.
It's very different, and I think what's the craziest thing about that is that we love to travel, and it's in your blood after a while. And it used to be where when I'm home for 2, 3, 4 days at a time, I would get cabin fever, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I need to just drive somewhere or go do something. And now that is completely flipped on its head, right? Now we're in Orlando for a few days, then we're home for a week or so, and it's been different, but I've actually really learned to embrace it and enjoy it.
Well, you went from a point being of okay, where are we traveling to this week, and where are we going to be next week, to now every single week.
Yeah,
you're in Orlando.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because that does happen where you'll just open up your app and say, you just follow the ticket on the app and you go to that plane in that city. You don't even know what city it is half the time.
Wow.
So it's very different, yeah.
So what was your routine when you went to a new city, wherever that was? It was land in the city, I imagine, get a rental car, how did it work for you?
So if we had shows, let's say Thursday was a live event, Friday TV, Saturday, Sunday live events, I usually fly out the day before. So I'd fly out on Wednesday afternoon, depending on what city it is. Maybe there's a nice restaurant I want to go to there or something.
Always comes back to the food.
It does. So fly in Wednesday, get the rental car, go to the hotel, check into the hotel. The next day, see the town, hit the gym, go to the arena, do the show, then drive to the next city for Smackdown on Friday. And same thing Saturday, Sunday. Just get in the car and go and drive all night till 2 a.m. And
I like that you skim past the get a rental car, get a hotel. That takes a big chunk of time. I know that takes a big chunk of time.
Thank you for saying that.
Of course.
Because it really does. A lot of people think that it's just all glamorous. It's no, sometimes it takes a while at the rental car place and checking into the hotel and not to mention if you're connecting on flights, it's a day. That's a full day.
Of course.
Flights, connections. But again, you get used to it and you learn to enjoy it. And there are little things at different airports that you realize you really enjoy and you get used to it, man.
What are the cities in America that you like traveling to the most?
Love going to San Francisco. It's just beautiful out there. Let's see. What else in the United States?
You've probably been to every state, right?
Except Alaska.
So far.
It's the one that has eluded me. And I'm thinking with some time off here in the summer, I might just use my points and go. Just to say
absolutely should.
My 50th state.
Oh, man. Although, do you want to be able to say I've announced in all 50 states?
Not until you just said that. Now I do. Man. Wow, that's a great call.
Well, I guess you could go out there with a microphone and you could announce for anybody.
I'll record it. Yeah, I'll record a cameo out there so that I can say I eventually did.
You could announce the whales as you know.
Yeah,
Here he is swimming into the bay.
The blue whale.
weighing in at 2 tons.
Yeah, I might have to.
It's gotten a little ridiculous here.
Yeah, that's all right. But yeah, San Francisco, the Pacific Northwest, I really like. Seattle, Vancouver's really cool. Sleeper city, Portland, Maine.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely love Portland, Maine.
Why Portland, Maine?
It's beautiful. Again, we're going to get back to the food. It's a small town, so to speak. I'd be guessing maybe 60,000, 100,000 people, but the restaurants there are unbelievable, and it's widely recognized. Like James Beard Foundation has recognized a lot of restaurants there. It's a sleeper city, man. I'm telling you. Go in the spring, the summer, and the fall. They do Harvest on the Harbor, which is a big food festival right there in the harbor in Portland. So Portland, Maine, sleeper town.
Have you always been a food person, a foodie?
Kind of,
like
yeah.
your whole life, even as a kid?
Yeah, I guess so. My dad, growing up, worked for a food distribution company. And so every big holiday, we would have just a spread of prime rib and shrimp cocktail, and he makes his own cocktail sauce. And I just loved it, and I would help out in the kitchen. And here's a true story, too. This is so embarrassing. When I was a teenager, I thought I wanted to be a chef when I grew up. And I'll never forget, I was at my dad's house in the kitchen. Again, let me remind you, a teenager, 14, 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
And I said, Dad, I think I might want to go to culinary school and be a chef. And this is why I think I didn't do it. And think of this as the mentality of a 15, 16-year-old. He turns to me and says, well, you realize if you do that, you're going to be working every single weekend because that's when everybody goes out. As a teenager, your weekends are your life.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, not being a chef then.
So what did you want to be if you weren't going to be a chef?
I've always wanted to be a host.
Well, you're doing it.
Even in high school, I hosted the pep assemblies that we had and everything. That's just all I ever wanted to do.
Me too. Our path is actually very similar in that way. Like, I got started in local news. You were started, well, not first in local news. Actually, your story is incredible. It started as you being a cruise director.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I know. I think the thing is, obviously, you're reaching a much bigger audience now than you ever were with anything you did before.
Right.
Working for the WWE. But before that, you had so many other jobs. Actually, so cruise director is where it began?
Yeah. Yeah, so at 21, I was here in Ohio, and I just decided I wanted to travel. I always had the travel bug. I got that from my mom for sure.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I think it'd be cool to work on a cruise ship. So I just started sending out resumes to different cruise companies.
Wow.
Never even seen a cruise ship at that point in my life.
You had never been on a cruise ship?
Never been on a cruise, never seen one. Just it sounded cool. I was 21. So started submitting resumes to different companies. Got a call back from Carnival. Did a couple phone interviews, and then went down there for an interview. And then started as a social host at 21, just doing bingos, activities, karaoke's. And by the time I was 24, just 3 years later, I'd been promoted to cruise director, where I was in charge of the entire entertainment department, hosting all the major shows, running everything in entertainment really on board the ship.
And for anybody who's ever been on a cruise, you know that your cruise director is usually not 24 years old.
Right. Well,
yeah.
And I'll explain that too. Yes, I was passionate about it, but at that time, Carnival was building so many ships that they had to start just promoting people. I was, again, luckily just right place, right time, and certain hotel directors or whatever saw the work that I did and liked me and said, hey, give this guy a shot, and it just worked out, man.
So what cruise ships were you on? Because I'm sure there's going to be people watching this, listening to this, going, no way, I went on that cruise.
Yeah, I mean, I was on, oh my gosh, years and years ago, though, these are all for Carnival. The Holiday, the Sensation, the Fascination, the Pride, the Triumph. I was a cruise director on. The Destiny, I was a cruise director on. All over the place. I mean, different home ports.
Yeah.
So been out of ships out of Miami, out of Los Angeles. I did 2 contracts on a ship out of San Juan, Puerto Rico. 2 6-month contracts there.
So if someone came to you at that time and said, all right, Greg, we're going to go on a 7-day cruise with the family, where should we go?
7 days, I'd go Southern Caribbean, man.
Okay.
Southern Caribbean, like Aruba. I think they hit Curacao. Maybe Martinique is a really cool island a lot of people don't know about. So, yeah, Southern Caribbean if you got 7 days.
So you being a cruise director and working on the cruise ships, when you eventually, many, many years later, ended up signing with WWE, you're like, oh, I heard this travel schedule was difficult. Well, I used to work 6.5 days a week or whatever you did on the cruise ship. It was that often, right?
Yeah. I mean, on a ship, you work anywhere from 4 to 6 months at a time on board.
You don't have any time off?
No.
Oh, then never mind. I'm
No,
sorry.
no.
Wow.
But here's the thing, though. Once you're on board that ship for 4 to 6 months, right? So, it's not like WWE where we're like constantly on airplanes and rental cars and hotels and things like that. You're set on board for those 6 months, but you're working every single day, literally.
Wow. So let's follow this journey. So
Okay.
You're on the cruise ship. You're working for Carnival. Then what happens from there?
So I'm not making any of this up. I want you to know. I promise you this is all true. So then I met a producer from CBS.
On the cruise ship?
On the cruise ship. They were there filming a tour package, like a video package for their morning show, just about cruising and vacations. And the executive producer just came to one of my shows in the lounge, and then afterwards he said, "Hey, man, have you ever done television before?" And I was like, "No." He goes, "You should, man. You should try it." He goes, "I'll tell you what. If you're ever in San Antonio, just come be a guest morning show host on our show. Be a guest host one day."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, sure." So a month later, my contract ended on that ship. Mm-hmm. So I had a month or two off. Called him up, said, "Hey, Luis, if you're serious, I'll come to San Antonio for..." He goes, "Yeah, come on up, man." So I went. I guest hosted the morning show for a day called Great Day SA on Ken's 5, CBS, San Antonio. It went really well.
Wow.
And then he called me a month after that and said, "Hey, man, so our normal male personality, Glenn, is leaving. Do you want to come audition to be the male host of the show?"
Wow.
And I did, and I got it. And to this day, Luis Munoz is his name. He remains a very, very close friend, one of my best friends, and more importantly, like my mentor when it comes to TV.
So you picked up your life, moved it from Ohio, I guess was still home at the time?
Yeah, home base.
Because you were, traveling all around, but
Yeah.
home base, picked up, moved to San Antonio for this job.
Yeah.
I love it.
Why not?
Well, I've done a very similar thing
you've
with
been
my
all over the
career.
place, right?
Well, that's why I can completely relate to this.
Yeah.
So you go from the cruise ship life of being on the road, being on the water for 4 to 6 months at a time, to now you got a home base in Texas.
Yeah.
And how long are you on this station in San Antonio?
I was there for almost 2 years because the goal from there was then to get signed with an agency in Los Angeles and sort of try to make that jump, which I did. You and I had the same agent at one point. We talked about that.
Which is crazy. Without ever knowing that, without ever knowing, you.
Yeah, that just came up in our conversation once. Like, "Oh yeah, who are you signed with?" I was, "Oh really?
Yeah.
With this agent? Yeah, me too."
That's so
it was
wild.
it was nuts. Now here we are in a loft in Cincinnati.
So then you picked up and moved to LA.
Moved to LA, signed with an agency there.
We're
LA,
talking
it's a
like
tough place.
26-ish at this point?
Yeah, at that point, 26, 27.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then you're in LA just gigging it?
Yeah, gigging it, man. Doing what I can. Hosted a couple things out there. Nothing big or major. Did an awesome pilot called Celebrity Eats. Art Shutabala, shout out to you, my bud. Had a lot of fun, but nothing ever concrete.
Right.
And then that's when I did get an opportunity, and I moved to Orlando.
Right.
Which was the American Idol experience.
And you were like the Ryan Seacrest if you were within the park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Reader's Digest version, the American Idol experience, it was awesome if you look it up. We were directly affiliated with Fremantle Media and with the show, with American Idol. People would come audition for our producers and then hopefully make a preliminary show. If they win their preliminary show, go to the finale show. Winner of the finale show gets a dream ticket to go to the front of the line at any American Idol audition in the country.
Wow. And this is all within Hollywood Studios, right?
Yes.
Within, the Disney
Yes,
World. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you got to realize this is at a time where, American Idol is at its peak. So people right before the summer auditions of Idol would come flocking to our show to try to win a dream ticket. And over the years, we had so many people make the top 5, the top 10 that started on our show. So it was really cool and gratifying to host these shows and see these winners, and in your mind think, man, I could see them making the show. And then that next season, you look, and there they are in the top 10. You're like, we had a hand in picking that person.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was a really neat chapter, man.
So did you have this is
the
American Idol?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I did. And I would like fake people out at the end and everything when I was reading the results.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, I did the whole Seacrest bit.
Seacrest is the best at that, but when you're watching it, also the worst at that because he's like, "We'll tell you who the finalist is after
the
this."
break." Yeah, he does that. So yeah, I would do stuff like that. I would just little jokes and then, or let's say you were one of the finalists or something like, "Chris, open the envelope. You are not going.
Oh!
To be disappointed because you're in the final two. Like stuff like that. Yeah, man.
That's like some Maury Povich stuff there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you are the father.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So I did that, man.
And that led to you meeting Mike Rome?
So that's the thing. Mike Rome and I have known each other since like 2010, man. We've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
And he and I just really hit it off there, became really good buds.
But wasn't he working on the Universal side of things?
He did both.
Oh, I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, he did both. He worked at Universal. He did a ton of stuff at Universal, and then also did some stuff at Hollywood Studios. He was a part of American Idol as well.
Wow.
So yeah, he and I go way back, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now look at you guys.
I know, it's great. What's so fun is we know obviously a lot of the same people in Orlando, and so just to see both of us make this journey into WWE is just it's really cool. Because a lot of people don't realize we've been friends for so long.
Yeah.
So for he and I, it's really cool and special knowing where we were before this.
So was the plan to do American Idol for as long as you could do? Like that was probably a pretty fun gig.
It was great, man.
But it was also probably seasonal, right?
No, it was year round.
That was year round? That's amazing.
It was year round, but it was really busy at different times.
Sure. So how long were you doing it for?
Oh my gosh, I did that almost 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every
great
day?
gig. No, I would do about 5 days a week.
Wow.
But it was great. I mean, the show's 20 minutes long. We do multiple shows a day, and then just had a green room in the back hanging out. It was great, and the people that I worked with were awesome. I worked with some really fun, cool people.
Well, I feel like if you got the job in San Antonio because someone saw you on the cruise ship, saw how talented and passionate you were, that's totally possible to happen when you're working in Disney World in front of tourists from all over the world, people from all over the country.
Yeah.
Did you get approached with Greg, you're very good?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Because I did do some stuff with Good Day Orlando on Fox down there, too. I did some entertainment reporting stuff with them.
Yeah.
But that's oddly enough not how I got into WWE.
How'd you get into WWE?
This is another story similar to the cruise ship story, to be honest with you. So Idol was coming to an end. The show was starting to decline. It was going on its last season, I believe, then on Fox at the time. So at that point, I'm calling my former agent that you and I shared, not to be named. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. We got to do something here. The ship is sinking, and it was sinking fast. So right after the show ended, a friend of mine who was an audio tech, Ronaldo, shout out to Ronaldo.
A lot of shout outs. I like it.
A lot of people helped me out along the way, man. I didn't get here by myself.
You can't do it on your own, yeah.
So Ronaldo was playing a pickup basketball game. He's an audio tech at Idol, playing a pickup basketball game with a guy over at Full Sail. The guy at Full Sail that he was playing a pickup basketball game with happened to be a producer for WWE. And he said, "Hey man, we're going to be starting this live hosting stuff. We're looking for more of hosts, not just announcers. Do you know anybody? We're going to start this program pretty soon." He goes, "Oh yeah, my buddy Greg. That's what he does." He goes, "Well, have him send me his stuff." So his name was Johnny Greco. Sent Johnny Greco my demo reel. He liked it. He sent me back some stuff that he wanted me to put on camera, different announcements, which I would cringe to watch those now.
Do you remember what they were?
One was a Hell in a Cell promo. So it wasn't an announcement necessarily, but more like an on-cam, Hell in a Cell. It's where anything could happen. It's hell, and it's in a cell. All this, and I'm just trying my best, right? I'm just doing my damnedest.
Were you watching wrestling at the time?
No. I wasn't even watching at that time. So I submitted it, and apparently he liked it because he brought me and two other guys into the WWE Performance Center.
Which was pretty new at the time, too.
It was.
Yeah.
It had just opened, I want to say, within a couple of years before that.
Yeah.
He brought me and two other people in for a live audition over 2 days, and it was nerve-wracking. So the first day was a full day. Second day was a half day of auditioning, and then we went to watch NXT.
Nice.
So we went to watch a little bit of NXT, and I was just spent. I was exhausted after this 2 days because I really wanted this gig. Idol was over. You know how hard it is to get a job in this industry, man.
Yeah.
And here I've got this one shot. After this, who knows where the next chance is going to come from.
It's funny that you say that because when you have a job, it's so much easier to just kind of jump from lily pad to lily pad, jump from job to job to job.
Yes.
When that job is taken away from you, then you're all of a sudden going, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah.
When am I going to work again? Is it going to be a week from now, a month from now, 6 months
from now?
Yeah.
Yes. You feel dead in the water, man.
Yeah.
And that's where I was. And so I go into the audition. Like I said, it was stressful. I'm driving back home, and I'm almost home, and I got Johnny Greco calls me. He goes, "Hey, man, is there any chance you could run back to Full Sail real quick?" And I'm like, "Sure." And to this day, he says to me, he goes, I didn't know what you were going to do. So I drive back, and they're like, "Congratulations, you're hired."
Just like that?
On the spot.
Wow.
I wasn't expecting that. So, and Johnny, he told me this later. He goes, "I didn't think you were going to take the gig. We were nervous when you were coming back because your response on the phone didn't sound good." I'm like, "No, I was just exhausted. I was just really, a long 2 days." And so that's it, man. They hired me right then and there, and I started in January of 2015. Is that true? 16, 15? I don't know.
You tell me.
I think it was 2015. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been there over 5 years.
Oh my gosh. January of 2015. That's when I started.
When you went to that NXT show, first of all, who was the ring announcer when you were there?
I believe it was JoJo at the time.
Okay.
She was doing NXT.
And you probably hadn't been to a live wrestling show in a little while. Did
True.
the energy of it just hit you and go, "Oh my God"? Like I know what it's like when you're a host. You want to be in the middle of that.
Yeah. I loved it. I was captivated right away in the moment. And it was when, if you guys remember this, it was when, was it a takeover? Because Kevin Owens came out to congratulate Sami Zayn and then powerbombed him into the apron. It was that show.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, this is awesome. And then because people around me are helping me with the storylines, and I was hooked, man. I was so hooked.
So you get the job on the spot, then when do you start?
That was in early December, and I ended up starting, like I said, January. So just a month later, I had started.
And when was the first time, when you started, was that you being in front of crowds and doing it?
Yeah, so they started me off doing the Florida shows, because what we did was we created something that hadn't been done before. If you go to the Florida shows now, the Coconut Loops, there's a host that comes out and interacts with the crowd before the show and does giveaways, and I started that. I created that.
Yeah.
They wanted me to come up with this concept with more fan interaction, and we started it on the local level, NXT Florida. So I started that, and what's funny too is I went from doing television to American Idol, and even I did. Oh, by the way, I did a GAC Great American Country. I filled in on the GAC Daily Countdown in Nashville. Occasionally, I would fly back and forth from Orlando.
That's awesome.
So I'd done all this stuff, this TV, this national TV stuff, this local TV stuff, this live stage stuff. And then I'm in an armory in Jacksonville. And I'm like, what have I done with my life choices right now?
Yeah.
Because not coming from that world, I didn't know much about it.
Yeah. But then eventually you get on TV.
Well, not only that, I still keep in contact with a lot of the fans from NXT Florida.
That's great.
I loved it,
it's a lot of the
man.
same fans at every show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I became so close to those people that I ended up loving it. And I kind of, when they said, hey, we're going to send you up to the main roster, I kind of missed them.
Yeah.
But it was a great opportunity.
But, even though you weren't watching wrestling at the time, you watched wrestling growing up. Like, you were a wrestling fan growing up.
Absolutely.
So it's like it came full circle here for you.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It really did. I would, at my dad's house, when I was at my dad's, I would on Saturday mornings run downstairs to try to beat my stepbrother to the television so I could turn on wrestling. And 1993 was at King of the Ring at the Nutter Center in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
So yeah, as a kid, man, I was all in. So you're right, it's this full circle thing now that is just really cool.
So you get hired. At what point do they go, you can't use this name, you're going to have to come up with another name? Because Greg Hamilton's not your name.
No, it's not. It's Greg Hudson with a T, H-U-T. I won't forget this either, because as you know, you're Chris Van Vliet. That's your brand, bro. That's your brand.
It's not a great name. Like, people are like, Chris Van Vliet, Chris Van Vliet. Yeah, I get that all the time.
I didn't think about that.
Thank you for pronouncing it correctly.
Van Vliet. But that's your brand, right?
It is now, I guess.
Yeah, so I was trying to build something towards my own brand as Greg Hudson.
Sure.
So Johnny Greco calls me. He goes, hey, by the way, we need you to come up with a list of maybe 10 names that you would want to use. I'm like, what's wrong with Greg Hudson?
Yeah.
He goes, no. It's proprietary stuff. You need to have a new last name. And I was kind of upset at first. I'm like, but I'm trying to build this brand, and
you had built this brand.
Yeah, I started to, and then I felt like I was starting from zero after that.
Yeah, definitely.
So once I calmed down and figured out what he was talking about, it was really, really easy for me. Greg Hamilton was a no-brainer. My hometown is Hamilton, Ohio.
Right.
and it just sounded great. It just sounded perfect, and I wanted to give sort of a nod to Hamilton, Ohio, where I grew up, and just it was a wonderful place. Still is.
Well, your initials get to stay the same too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
So did you have 9 other possibilities on that list?
I think I did. I don't even remember what they were.
Was it always going to be Greg something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was definitely going to be Greg something.
You didn't have to pick a different first name.
No.
Okay.
No, stuck with Greg. What were some of the other ones?
I know that
there?
WWE likes first name. Like, you know, like Mike Rome, or I'm trying to think of some other great examples where you have your last name is also a first name.
Oh, okay.
So Hamilton could be a first name.
Absolutely.
Could be, I
Could
guess.
be, yeah. No, I think so.
So do you remember what else was on that list?
Oh, man. I can't remember, but I remember, some of them were just off the wall. Some of them were just like super weird, bougie last names that...
Bougie.
Some were bougie, some were just strange. I don't like Greg Valmont or something like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But Hamilton was the first one on the list and the one I really, really wanted.
And then you send this list into them, and then you like patiently waited for them to be like, okay, you got it.
And that's it.
Oh, no way.
That's it. They ran it through legal to check different things, and then also by some of upper management to see what they thought of the names that I picked.
Yeah.
And I'm like crossing my fingers, just like, man, Hamilton is what I want. I really want Hamilton. It means something to me. And then they were like, I just got an email saying, hey, we're going with Greg Hamilton.
It's funny though, because that was a very famous baseball player, very famous Canadian baseball player.
That's what I keep. So sometimes I've seen on Google that.
So it's so funny. When you Google your name, it's the weirdest thing because in the little Google info bar on the right there, it's a picture of you, but it says Canadian baseball player, 54 years old.
I'm glad you brought that up because I have seen that before. I've seen a baseball player with the name Greg Hamilton, but now, okay, it makes total sense now.
Yeah, so you don't have a Wikipedia, right?
I don't think so.
So
I haven't done one. I don't know.
Well, this needs to happen now, everybody. Especially since you know all the information from this interview.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, just cite
type
this.
It out.
Yeah.
Type it out.
Yeah. So his Wikipedia is obviously tied into your name, obviously having the branding with WWE, and they've merged this together.
He's a Canadian baseball player turned ring announcer for WWE.
Yeah, and somehow he's gotten younger. It's amazing. So
Benjamin Button.
So I think that means you're the more famous Greg Hamilton, but because he has the Wikipedia page, the info's like mingled in here together.
That's okay.
We need to get you
my own Wikipedia.
Yeah, that needs to happen.
All right, I don't know how that works, but I'll do it.
But someone watching this is going to make you one. That's what's going to happen.
Please do.
Yeah, and it can get tied into your YouTube channel, WWEats, which again, this is the set for. I'm going to leave a link below so people can subscribe.
That would be great.
Yeah, so the link will be down below. Greg Hamilton's WWEats.
Yes.
And if you haven't seen this, the food that he makes on there, the food that you make on there is.
Thanks, man.
Woo!
It's a passion and a lot of editing, but
it's mostly the fact that you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
When I go in the kitchen and like the toast comes out of the toaster and it like looks nice and brown, I'm like, oh yeah, like good job, CVV. You're actually making like restaurant quality meals.
I try to. I got more of that bug as far as once I started to learn technique as well. So it was one thing growing up with my dad, and him working for a food distribution company, but also a friend of mine, Joseph Feldman, is a chef. I met him when I lived in LA, and he taught me some technique. And this is what happens when you start to cook something and you realize, okay, I want to learn how to make this dish. Once you surprise yourself with a dish, you're hooked. Like the first time I made like a lamb ragu over like tagliatelle with like a red wine reduction. Once I made my first lamb ragu.
Of course, yeah.
And I tasted it.
Whenever
like,
you make your first lamb ragu.
That's when you know.
And then you're like, was it the I can do this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Utilizing these chef techniques. Because it's pretty daunting.
Of course it is.
Like if you're watching a chef in a kitchen, you see what they're doing back there, like, I don't stand a chance.
Yeah.
So once you break it down and a chef teaches you a little technique or you take a cooking class, and then you realize you're able to create the dishes that you watch them make in their kitchen, you get the bug. And I've had it ever since, man.
But I think that a lot of people find it a daunting task because so much can go wrong. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
It can be going so well until the last ingredient or two, or you keep it in the oven for too long, or whatever it happens to be, and all your hard work, all your preparation is now out the window.
Yeah, that's happened to me many a time. Pork belly was tough for me. Pork belly is very difficult to make. Because it doesn't have a lot of flavor on its own. You want to impart flavor in it, but you also want to get that skin crispy, but keep the meat tender. You don't want to dry out the meat. So pork belly is quite the process. That one took me a long time, but I went through everything you're talking about when I tried to make it.
I love how much you love food. And it's so obvious when you watch your YouTube channel.
Thank you, man.
That you're not just like some dude cooking some stuff. You're like, this goes with this because of this, and you want to put this on first because of...
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you, man. Everybody had their passions, and that one's mine.
But I feel like there's also like, there's a relation here between the cook in the kitchen and learning from that and what you do in the ring as a ring announcer, because a little bit of this goes a long way sometimes. Or maybe I'll pull back a little bit on this.
That's really good. I like what you did there.
I just came up with that right now.
But it's true. But
it's
you're
totally
not wrong,
true.
though. I never thought of it that way.
With that said, if you look back to your first set of announcing, your first few months of announcing in 2015, what's changed and how much has it changed since then?
Wow. For one, I think I have a lot more confidence now than I did then, for sure. Mm-hmm. And a lot of what you're talking about, too, is learning to pepper in certain things, and this goes a long way, but then you don't need to extend this phrasing that long, but this one you want to. So the big change for me had been confidence, for sure. Learning how to keep projecting without shouting is another one. And then also, I think what's become very important to me is trying to give each superstar their own unique announcement. But doing so by imparting their character, if that makes sense. So when I announce certain people, I announce them a certain way. It's because I feel like that tone goes with their character.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Of course it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like when you epically say The Undertaker, it feels like it fits with that entrance.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, there's a certain level you got to get to with Undertaker.
Yeah.
With that. But I try to do that with a lot of the superstars and give them their own vibe.
I think you're most well known for the Shinsuke intro.
Yes.
How did that evolve into what it became?
I will. This is the truth. Pure luck. Absolutely pure luck. Takeover Dallas. Go back to NXT Takeover Dallas. First time I ever met the guy. First time ever announced him. And his music hits. The crowd goes crazy. It's the first time they're hearing his music. He's coming out doing all this and doing the octopus and everything. And it's just looking at the screen, looking at his Tron and his name, like that's just how it came out. So
you hadn't practiced it?
Not once, not a single time. I just needed to make sure I knew how to pronounce it.
Wow.
So I didn't say Shinsuke. So I got that part, but I waited till I got in the ring, and then when his music hit and he comes out, like it was just organic. And then now I prolonged it even further. What I mean by that is in that video on Takeover Dallas, I think Shinsuke Nakamura. Now I put a lot more energy and power into it.
Yeah.
But that inflection is the same, and for some reason, man, there's a video on YouTube of me just saying that for like a minute and a half straight.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I actually watched it before I came over here. Because you announce it differently, rightfully so, when he's walking down the ramp versus when he's won a match.
Yes.
And they've actually mixed both in during this video.
They have, yeah. But yeah, so the entrance is one inflection, and then there's more just powerful, forceful name for the winner.
Now, after you announced him for the first time and you saw him backstage after the show, did he go, I really liked what you did there. I've never heard my name said like that.
Not that particular show.
You just kind of kept doing it?
Yeah, I just kept doing it because I got a lot of good feedback after Takeover Dallas. I didn't even realize I did it. I go back and I watch it. I'm like, well, I guess I kind of did do that.
It's one of 20 or 30 names you said that night.
For sure.
Yeah.
But the fact that people picked up on it and liked it, I'm like, well, I'm going to run with this.
Yeah.
I just kept doing it. And then what's funny is, so he and I, as you probably know, are really good friends now.
Yeah. Would you say he's your best friend in WWE?
I mean, yeah, probably he's up there, yeah, for sure. He and I have a great time traveling together when we were on the road and everything. But I think when I knew that he liked it, he's kind of a quiet person for the most part until you get to know him. I think one time in like the hallway, I just passed him and he goes, Shinsuke. So when he did that, I'm like, oh, I just got a stamp of approval. That's okay, great. Cool, that's awesome.
Have you ever had a superstar go, maybe try this with my name instead?
Oh man, not off the top.
Okay, that's good. That's what a compliment.
Well, that's true, but I also I'm also very cognizant of going up and asking people. Like if I'm announcing somebody for the first time, I'm like, hey, I was thinking about announcing you this way. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
Or just trying it and checking in with them afterwards.
Yeah.
But I haven't had anybody just come up and just straight bury me like, hey man, maybe you do this.
That wouldn't be burying.
No, I know.
The first time I ever announced Johnny Gargano, I announced him in Cleveland, Ohio.
Hometown boy.
Right, Prime Wrestling. This was way before he was even on WWE's radar. This is 2011. And I was practicing, and he actually goes to me, he goes, maybe up at the end, Gargano, because I was going, Gargano. He's like, maybe
Give it a little
up.
more, yeah,
And
okay.
I'm like, oh,
It's
okay.
those little subtle things, though, with announcing, isn't it? Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy? It's like these little subtle changes that make a major
Yeah,
difference.
yeah. And I'm by no means a professional ring announcer, but I've done it for a bunch of indie federations. But for him to have that, like, hey, you should, try this. I was like, yes. And that will make it that much better, not just for me, not just for you, but for everybody.
And I'm open to that. Like, if somebody has suggestions like that, if one of the superstars comes up to me, I would welcome that.
Yeah.
Trust me.
When did the one fall become a thing? Because you became very well known for saying
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing in Europe and in the UK in particular. It's a pretty big thing. And so I think I just picked up on it from there. We did, NXT UK, and I did it during NXT UK TakeOver, and it popped huge because those guys, they love doing it in the UK. And I think the US picked up on it watching TakeOver London. So then I come back to the States, and I just start pausing here to see if people pick up on it. Well, slowly but surely, people started to pick up on it, and then to the point that everybody knew, and then everybody would do it whenever I was announcing.
Oh, but now everybody does it no matter who's announcing, no matter what city, country, whatever you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a thing you do now.
It is. I mean, live events, I especially still do it, and people still respond. We have to pick up the pace a little bit for TV now, so I don't do it for TV anymore to keep the pacing quicker.
Yeah.
But it's really cool, and I love it. And I like it because it makes me feel connected to the fans a little bit too.
Well, I mean, you get immediate, instant feedback from that.
Yeah.
Do you prefer doing the announcements as they're walking down the ramp or the championship style in the ring intros?
Ooh, that's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that before. There's pros and cons to both. I'll put it that way. Not cons, actually. I like them. How about this? I like them both for different reasons.
Okay.
I love doing the announcements as they're coming in their entrance because you can really tie into the emotion of their music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can, and there's certain theme songs too where you plug in their announcement just perfectly and it lands just perfectly right before a big drop of a beat or something like that.
Right.
Bobby Roode, for example, Robert Roode, his glorious, you
Yeah.
see, weighing in at whatever 250 pounds, the glorious Robert Roode, and the guitar hits.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you time it just right and slide it in there, this is like nerdy announcer stuff right now. Sorry.
No, this is what makes you great, though.
So little things like that. I love that. Finding spots during the music to put that in, tie into the emotion of their song. Championship intros, on the other hand, are great because it's laser focused, and especially I can't wait till we get back here with a bunch of people in the arena.
Yeah.
But that energy.
Yeah.
And then when they know how you announce certain people and they say it with you.
Yeah.
Like, the phenomenal AJ Styles. Hearing an entire arena do that with you, man.
Yeah.
It's unreal. So there's pros to both.
But also, when you're doing the championship intro, you've got the crowd in the palm of your hand.
Yes. Absolutely. That does feel good.
Yeah.
Actually. That does.
Even if maybe it has to be quicker than it might have been before, you've got the crowd in the palm of your hand.
You got them right there, man.
Yeah. And all eyes are on that moment.
Yes. So don't mess up when that moment comes.
This might sound like a strange question, but there's a reason for it. Do you have any sort of singing background?
I don't. But people ask me that all the time. They're like, man, you have such control of your voice when you're announcing.
Yeah.
You must be a phenomenal singer. I'm like, no.
And you probably are. Like
No.
karaoke night with Greg Hamilton is probably incredible.
No, I'm embarrassed to sing.
This would actually
I'm
be
terrible.
a great spot for karaoke. Look at this.
We could set up a little stage
Yeah,
over in the corner by the
everyone, come
bourbon.
on over. Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
And I say that particularly because of your Best in the World announcement. It's very sing-songy, and I say that in the most complimentary way.
Thank you. That again is a great story on its own. That was not the original plan for that whole Best in the World thing.
What do you mean?
There was never there was never this plan of, hey, we're going to have you just hold this note as long as possible. It was just announce him as best in the world. That was the original plan. Then MetLife Stadium, WrestleMania, we're at rehearsals, and we're rehearsing the intros, and Shane goes up the corner, best in the world, Shane McMahon. Well, Road Dogg and Jeff Jarrett were helping with that segment, and they were right behind me, and Road Dogg goes, hey, man, he goes, let me just hear you, just let one rip. Let me see what you can do, man. Come on, brother, give me everything you got. I said, are you sure? He said, yeah. So we rehearsed again, and I just held this note, and it was like time stopped. And I just kept going. And this empty MetLife Stadium is empty because it's rehearsal.
Yeah.
And
so it's just echoing.
And I just let it rip, man. And that thing I don't know how, probably the longest one I've ever done in that rehearsal. And I was done, and then Shane McMahon, and he was conducting, just having fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't planned.
Yeah.
And so we did it, and I stopped, turned around, and Road Dogg goes, damn, can you do that again tonight? Thus, Best in the World was born.
Wow. So this was your thing, and then Mike started doing it when Shane would go
When he would go to Raw. Yeah.
So did Mike go, all right, well, how should I do this?
It's weird. I'll say this, man. I'm glad it was Rome, and this is, I don't know who else would be a ring announcer there, but I'm just saying I'm glad it was Rome because I know Rome has the voice to pull it off.
Yeah.
Now, he is a trained singer. But imagine somebody who was just a ring announcer not necessarily able to do that, and they were on Raw, and he's calling for it, and they couldn't do it. That would be awful.
Yeah.
So thank God it's Rome over there.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult. And there have been times where I was 0.0023456 seconds away.
It's very specific.
Yes, from going out, from losing it.
And then he finally stopped you.
Yeah.
What do you do to warm up your voice? I know, like Lillian Garcia told me, you got to sing from your diaphragm, you got to speak from your diaphragm.
Yeah, project.
Okay, great. So then I started, it's going to sound so stupid.
No.
So I started watching videos on YouTube, like how am I going to speak from my diaphragm? Because sometimes we'll do hour and a half long podcasts, and like for the rest of the day, my voice is just so like hoarse. And I'm like, how do I do this so I don't ruin my voice? So I go to watch these videos, and I'm learning how to like breathe into my diaphragm.
Yeah.
But I still don't know how to speak from my diaphragm.
It's one of those things that you have to turn into a habit. Like now I just naturally speak from here, and I barely even use my voice itself. Like unless I'm trying to add inflection, then I'll go up here, and I'll take the energy here.
Yeah.
For the most part, all my energy when I speak comes from right here.
How do I do this?
It becomes habit. So you just have to keep practicing. So for a while, just intentionally speak from here, and then after a while, it'll just be natural for you.
Don't you feel like when you speak from your diaphragm, it gets a lot lower? Your voice gets a lot lower?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
I feel like, I don't know.
But it saves your voice box, man. I'm telling you, because even, like, how long WrestleManias are, right?
Yeah.
Those are tough.
Have you had moments where that night your voice is cutting out, middle of the show?
Yes. Yeah, and there's one in particular where I really wasn't feeling well at all.
Yeah, that factors into it for sure.
So there was one time I was sick, and I was having issues with my throat, but also my chest. I couldn't get air. It was like I felt like fluid in my lungs or something, like mucus. And Shane's on the show, and so here comes the money hits.
Yeah.
He's coming down, gets in the ring, and I stand up, and I know for a fact I can't get this out.
Oh no!
I start sweating. My palms I feel like I'm about to pass out because he's going to call for it. And I know for a fact there's no way I can do it. I know it. And I'm sweating. And then I'm looking at him up there. I'm looking at him. He gets up. He forgot to call for it.
Wow.
On that particular day.
So you just announced him straight up?
Didn't announce him at all.
Oh.
He just started talking and cutting his promo.
Wow, you got lucky.
Luckiest day of my life. Because, Chris, I'm telling you right now, 100% fact I could not do it that day. 100%.
You could have done it.
Brother.
You're a professional.
Brother, I would have cut out, and it probably would have been a good heel moment for him, because if I tried it and my voice was so shot I couldn't do it, but it would have been really embarrassing. I was sweating.
But Mike Rome has that one time where his voice kind of cracked because he was super sick.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing that people remember from him.
People give him all kinds of grief about it. And I'm like, this is not easy.
They don't remember the hundreds of times where it sounded perfect.
Right. They remember the one time. Yeah. And that's the thing, too. That's another reason I was worried about not being able to do it. But, like, bro, he nails it every time. And he was legit sick that night. He texted me earlier in the day. He goes, bro, I don't know if I can do this tonight.
Yeah.
He was legit sick. And, God, man, I don't know how he pulled it off. Yeah, there was a little crack there, but he still pulled off the announcement.
Yeah.
So that's hard.
I'm blown away by what you guys do without notes. Like the fact that you know everybody's weight and hometown and nickname, and if they're new, now immediately you know their info. Like, how do you do this?
It becomes second nature.
But not at first.
No, it's tough at first, and I think this is, again, I'm going to get into super announcer nerd mode, if that's okay.
Please, that's what you're here for.
When you first start announcing people, like a new roster or new talent, you're focused on getting the information right.
Yes.
You're focused on, driving the car straight. Mm-hmm. Once you know that stuff secondhand, then you can start playing with the announcements.
Right.
Then you can start adding little tweaks, little things that make it unique.
Yeah.
But for the first while, you're just trying to memorize this information. That's all it is.
In the same way that when you see a new actor in a scene, you can just see their wheels turning, that they're just trying to get through this line. They're just trying to, okay, you've said that, now I will say this. So you're basically just like, am I saying their name and their hometown and their name correctly?
Exactly. You're not even thinking about the power, the inflection, something special to put your own spin on it at all. It's, please let me get this information right.
So that's where the confidence comes in. Once you feel confident in the names you're saying, then you can start to put some personality into it.
Yes. One of the most difficult times I've ever had with that was the best in the world tournament in Saudi. Remember the big tournament that we had?
Yeah.
So before that show, during rehearsal, they had me listing each superstar's accolades. So, introducing first from St. Louis, Missouri, weighing in at 250 pounds. He was a 14-time world champion, a 2-time champion, this champion, this kind of champion, 2-time Royal Rumble winner, blah, 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 Randy Orton.
And you had to do that for everybody.
Had to do it for everybody. And at first, I'm like, okay, well, I'll be ringside. I'll just do it from ringside. And they're like, no, they want you in the ring for that.
Oh.
I'm like, so you want me to memorize in the next hour and a half all of these stats for 8 individual superstars?
Oh my gosh.
And they sound the same, right? Because maybe 2 people are 2-time Royal Rumble winners or Grand Slam champions, whatever you want to call it. But that was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do because you're in the ring.
How'd you do it?
I used my phone before we opened doors and stuff.
Yeah.
And in my phone, I opened the voice memos, and for each superstar, I read it off, but I did it sort of sing-songy.
Yeah.
And I just memorized a song for each superstar.
Wow.
So when I got in the ring, I knew what the Dolph Ziggler song was.
That's
I knew what
unbelievable.
And I had less than 2 hours to do it.
Wow.
I was really, really scared.
This is why you're so good at your job.
I was really lucky that night, man.
No.
Super lucky. I was so nervous.
With that said, have you had a moment that you look back on and you go, oh, I can't believe I said this, did this, like a real botch or mess up?
Oh, man.
Because I can't think of any.
I can't either. I haven't completely I haven't completely blown anything up.
Good.
I would definitely remember that.
Good.
Knock on wood.
Okay, there we go.
But that's my biggest fear, to be honest with you. It really is. Like, that's one of my biggest fears. Because when you're ring announcing, sure, he just says weights, hometowns, and everything. But you get one shot at it.
Yeah.
And it's live.
Yeah.
And you can't redo it. And you can't backtrack.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not like if you're, I don't know, doing something. Oh, actually, what I meant to say was this instead. No.
Which they can do on commentary.
Sure.
You can correct yourself.
That's a whole other skill in itself.
Of course.
But I get one shot at it, man.
Yeah.
Every single time. And
So when you got this job, who did you start to look at for help? Who did you start to look at to be a mentor for you? Or maybe just looked at the great ring announcers that have come before you?
I didn't really do that. I mean, I sought out advice from, Lillian and JoJo and Brandy, and I would ask them for advice, but I also didn't want to sound like them.
Yeah.
But I also think it helped that, a female announcement and projection is different than a male. So
for sure, yeah.
So it was kind of worked out for me to develop my own style because I didn't know who to mimic. I'd never ring announced anything in my life.
Yeah.
Ever before this job.
Yeah.
So I just kind of made up my own style, man. That's kind of what happened, and
it works.
So far, I'm still here.
It works great for you. But so back to you knowing all the names and hometowns and everything. So if I just list off a superstar, you'll be able to tell me.
Probably.
AJ Styles.
Gainesville, Georgia, 217, the phenomenal AJ Styles.
Dolph Ziggler.
Residing in Hollywood, Florida, also 217 pounds, Dolph Ziggler.
Otis.
330 pounds, Mr. Money in the Bank, Otis.
What about some of the females? We can do those?
Oh, sure.
Carmella.
Staten Island, Carmella.
This is amazing.
No, I mean,
What? Triple H.
Greenwich, Connecticut, 275 pounds, The Game, Triple H.
The Undertaker.
Death Valley, The Undertaker. No, wait.
Charlotte.
From the Queen City. Charlotte Flair. That's another one that I made up.
I like that. From the Queen City. I'm having too much fun with this. I could go down the whole roster here.
I mean,
what about a tag team? Give me any tag team.
Tag team?
Yeah.
Well, I love it. 650 pounds, Otis and Tucker, Heavy Machinery. 650, man.
That's a lot of weight.
kidding
That's
me?
why they're heavy machinery.
Yeah. 479 pounds, Jimmy and Jay, the Usos. Orlando, Florida, Naomi. We used to get on the roster if you want.
How do you announce Vince?
Please welcome the chairman of WWE, Mr. McMahon.
This is very exciting. How about Steph? Have you announced Steph?
I have. It depends. It's either just Stephanie McMahon or chief brand officer, depending on what the announcement, depending on what she's coming out to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of how you would announce your own name?
No.
Yeah.
I would never get. I mean, no. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know how I would.
Now you're thinking about it.
I am. Like the wheels are turning up here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll
Okay.
have to think about that.
You're going to have
be in
to.
that one.
Yeah. I like this. Yeah. I like this a lot.
How about you? We got to get the Chris Van Vliet.
I don't know. You'll have to do it for me.
I will. I'll think because there's something special there. There's something where we can really, yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be good. Do you sit there on like an airplane and think about the names you're about to say and play with them?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yeah, when there are superstars that I want to sort of announce in a unique way, I do think about that stuff. I really do. Or I'll sit in my car when I'm driving and I'll say it 6, 7, 8 ways and try to figure out what works.
Like while Shinsuke's music's like playing in your car, like blaring in your car, you're like, Shinsuke!
Yeah, well, yeah, so, okay, it's funny you mentioned that because after that first takeover Dallas, when I got all this feedback, I'm like, I'm going to run with this. And yeah, I would sit there and practice how to do that inflection, how to hold it longer, what should I do with Nakamura, and then I started stretching out the Nakamura. And people love that. So, yeah, I do. I'm, again, more announcer nerd stuff. I do.
No, I want as much announcer nerd stuff as possible.
Yeah, I think about that because, listen, man, there's a couple things. First and foremost, for the superstars themselves, I want them to feel like I've put in time to give them something unique.
Yeah.
It's important to me. It's their characters are what make them unique. So I want to be a part of that through their announcement. The other thing, too, is it's not lost on me how lucky I am to do what I do. And I'm sure you're the same. I was that kid that would run downstairs and watch wrestling, and I remember what Mean Gene sounded like. I remember what Howard Finkel sounded. To this day, I'm an adult.
Yeah.
And I can still see in my mind's eye watching that on television. So, my God, someday, if there's kids at home that watch years down the road, like, what an opportunity to have possibly kids when they're adults say, man, when I was a kid, I remember listening to Greg Hamilton's announcements. Like,
that's for sure going to be
I'm honored by that, man. Like, I'm humbled by that. So
I
take it seriously because of that, because I was that kid.
In the same way that you looked up to Howard Finkel,
there's
plenty of people that look up to what you do.
Well, time will tell, but I would love to create somewhat of a unique sound for myself so that kids today that are adults tomorrow do look back and say, man, I remember listening to Greg Hamilton announce. Like, what an honor that is, man. I'm just a kid from Hamilton, Ohio. And to have that be said about me someday, I want to do the best that I can.
Yeah, you posted a photo of you with Howard Finkel, when he
Yeah.
passed away, and what a tremendous loss, not just for the wrestling business, but just as a person.
Yeah.
Can you share with us any moments that you had with Howard?
Yeah. First of all, I would say, I know we say a lot of things when people pass, but even alive, I'll tell you, even if you were alive, just one of the most genuinely sweet human beings I've ever met in my life. Never heard a negative word from anyone about him. But what was really cool was he was so down to earth, and the guy had stories for days. So each year we would do sort of this, what we call like an announcer summit, where all of the hosts and announcers come down to Orlando at the Performance Center.
Oh, cool.
And we just get together and share best practices and things like that and run through exercises. Well, they sent Howard down to talk to us for one of them. Unbelievable. He knew everything about everybody. He knew even our new people, like, oh, I've heard that you're doing NXT, and I saw a video of you doing...
Wow.
Yeah, and then he would just share story after story of his own.
So he's just a student of the game.
Student of the game and just completely humble guy.
Wow.
And he would just tell us stories, and he was so polite about it. We're sitting there like this, like a sponge, and he's like, I've got one more story, if I may. If I may. We're like, Howard, tell us stories all night long. Please do. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
And the same thing when I worked with him, that picture was at a Special Olympics during, I think, WrestleMania week. And just on the van ride back, man, just listening to him tell stories about, the Hulkster one time. We were just waxing poetic about, hanging out with the Hulkster and this and that. Just a great guy, man.
I know it might be hard for you to pinpoint one specific moment, so I'm going to ask it in this way. Do you have a photograph that maybe encapsulates a moment from your WWE career that you look at and go, wow, that was something special?
Yeah, I think a photo from my first WrestleMania.
Which one was that?
Orlando,
Nice.
where I actually announced.
Yeah.
Somebody took a picture from like the hard cam side, and it's me just standing in the ring looking, like this, but in this giant arena in Orlando, me standing by myself in the ring, and somebody just caught this
At Camping World Stadium.
Yeah.
I was there.
All right, yeah,
I might be in that photo.
You could be.
Yeah.
But it was a candid moment, and when I look at that photo, I should say, I can see myself. I remember that moment, taking it in, and somebody captured that moment.
Wow.
And also Wale standing up behind me with a beer, which is cool. He's the one guy standing up. He's like walking to his seat. Everybody else sitting down. He's walking. Got Wale right there. So that was cool.
Has that been your favorite WrestleMania to announce?
No, I mean, I think it has to be MetLife, that best in the world moment, man, because that did something for my career that people finally knew who I was. I wasn't, maybe that's... Because for a while there was just, we want JoJo chants whenever I got in the ring.
No.
So, oh my God, yeah.
What?
Long time. Of course. Was we want JoJo chants. And I get it, man. I get it.
No offense to you, but she is
I get
more
it.
attractive.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
You're a handsome man, though,
I think, but that best in the world moment at that WrestleMania was when I really felt like I came into my own. It was breaking out of the cocoon, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then, then we saw what happened afterwards. We just ran with it.
But I think it's also because there was a long stretch of time when we just heard you or we just heard any of the other ring announcers. In this instance, we got to not only hear you, but see you in your element doing your thing.
Yeah, well, and become part of a storyline almost.
Yes,
because
that's true.
He dragged me around by the tie and dog walked me for the next, 6 months, which I was fine with. But that was a turning point for me in my career.
Did you have a conversation with Shane maybe a week in, a month in, and go, this has been great?
Yeah, I thanked him, but he was just as equally grateful to me. And I'm like, bro, of course. Are you kidding me? And then I think it was after that WrestleMania, I think I even still have it. I went back to my hotel, showered and stuff, and then realized the next day I had a voicemail on my phone from Shane McMahon.
Wow.
Saying, thank you, man, awesome job.
Wow.
Shane McMahon called I was mad I didn't pick up, but then I have this voicemail from Shane McMahon on my phone.
Wow.
Unbelievable, man.
The thing I love about this story and this storyline is Shane will be the best in the world for the rest of his career. Right?
Potentially, yeah.
I mean, Triple H has been the game for 20 plus years.
It's true. This could be part of his legacy.
Have you ever announced The Rock?
No.
So is he like top of the bucket list?
As far as people I haven't announced yet, absolutely.
You will. You will one day.
Well,
I'm sure he'll
so.
come back.
I think so. And I will say that the first episode of Fox on SmackDown, he came out and I was like, had the mic. I was ready to go. I couldn't wait.
And you had it ready to go, Miami, Florida. What do we wait, 275?
Well, he was just cutting a promo, but still just to introduce him. And then they were like, oh, no announcement. Because the place was going crazy already. They didn't need the announcement. But I was like sitting there like this, like ready to announce The Rock.
So he's at the top of the list. Who else is on the list of people
that I haven't announced? I mean, The Rock, The Rock's up there. And I only say that with because I have announced Taker, so no disrespect or anything like that. People I have not announced.
Yeah. Is there anyone else on that list? Have you announced Hogan?
Yeah. That was awesome. As your inner child, when you get to announce Hulk Hogan at a real show, like I should have been paying them that day. That's what should have happened. The Rock. I mean. I've announced Ric Flair.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm trying to think of. I guess I feel so lucky to have announced Hogan, Taker, Flair.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of people that I haven't. I mean, so far it's just Rock that I can come up with.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It's
and I guess actually with the video game, you've probably announced.
Oh, then I've announced everybody. Yeah.
Do you when you record for the video game? Do you just go into a studio for a day and just say all the names on the list? Oh.
No, this was probably a 4 to 6 month process.
What?
Yeah. Well, because this is my first time at the video game, so they don't have any audio of me from before that. This is the first ever recording, right? So I have to announce every single title, every single human being for the ring, every single city, every single possible weight. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there are so many titles in that video game. There are so many promotions in that video game. I had to do every single one from scratch because I hadn't done it before.
Wow.
So I would fly out to San Francisco once or twice a month to 2K games, and we would record two days each time, and it took about 4 to 6 months.
Wow. I remember when you posted a video, I think of the most recent video game with your announcement, I was like, oh,
yeah,
that sounds cool. I mean, that must be so cool for you to be in a video game.
It's bucket list. It's absolute bucket list. Hopefully I get to keep doing them, but even if I don't, this was bucket list.
Of course you'll get to keep doing it.
I'll give you a little insight, though. I'll give you like a little secret.
Okay.
So it is, when you've done voiceover before, you go in, you're in a booth.
Yep. Get the
put
headphones
the earphones on.
Yeah. There's a producer on the other side of the glass.
Yes, and I've got a monitor there of the names that I have to say and everything. But I really wanted to capture that passion, just like we do on television. So I had them pump crowd noise into my ear.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah. So in my ears, constant crowd noise going nuts.
Oh, that's great.
So the entire time I had them do that.
Oh, I like that.
Just
otherwise, it could sound kind of flat.
Yeah. And even we were doing shows from the Performance Center with no fans. It's hard to keep that energy. There is a visceral energy with people and fans in the building that cannot be replicated.
Yeah.
So that was a huge help to have that in my ear during the video game. That was really cool.
If there's someone watching this that wants to follow in the path that you're on, being in the WWE, what kind of advice do you have for them?
Well, first and foremost, be adaptable. Be ready and willing to do anything. First let's talk skill set. I would take improv classes first and foremost because you never know what's going to happen. What they're going to need you to fill time.
That's interesting.
Improv class is number one, absolutely. Learn to project, learn to use your diaphragm, otherwise you're going to burn your throat out.
Yeah.
But then as you're going along, if you're saying, hey, I want to become a host or I want to become an announcer, this is one industry, man. You can attest to this. There's no substitute for stage time and practice.
Yes.
There's nothing in a book you can read that is going to give you the experience that being on stage does.
Yeah.
So log those hours, volunteer to host things at your local community, at your church, at your school. Find events around town that you can host because you need to log those hours.
Yeah.
And then from there, if and when you do get your foot in the door, be ready and willing to do anything. When I first started at the Performance Center, when I first got hired, like I said, I was doing the NXT Florida shows. I was also helping carry stuff in from the car when they would come back from Costco with water, with toilet paper, with paper towels. I'll get it. I'll get it, run out to the car, to the van, bring everything in.
Wow.
I would sweep around the ring. when they were in between practice sessions out there. I would sit in skull sessions just to learn from the coaches and learn the business and learn the industry. So learn every facet, and that's just not just this business, anything. Even if, for somebody, again, you could attest to this, being on camera, it's important to know what your producers do.
Oh, my God,
It's important to know what the editors do.
Yep.
It's important. And you'll gain a lot more respect from people when they see that you're taking an interest in not just your job. Like, hey, my job's just to read the teleprompter.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do.
Well, I think that unfortunately people think that television hosts just come in, read the script, and then leave.
Right.
And in my
That's
first
not the case.
in my first job in Peterborough, Ontario, Canada, Bobby Roode's hometown, by the way.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I was on Chex TV there. I was everything. You're the one-man band. So I shot my stories, I edited my stories, I wrote my stories, I produced my stories, and then I got to be on camera for 10 seconds, to front my story.
Yeah. There's so much that goes into it. So that's my advice, is just have that respect for all facets of the business, be it this or something else that you're in, and just learn everything that you can.
This has been great. I've really enjoyed this.
Thanks, man.
Wow,
I've never done a long-form interview like this. You're my first ever long interview.
Well, thank you for trusting me with this.
Of course.
Thank you for inviting me into your beautiful loft here. And, while I still have you here, Rey Mysterio, what's his info?
San Diego, California, 180 pounds.
All right, Baron Corbin?
Well, he's no longer. It was Kansas City, 285. Now it's just 285 pounds, King Corbin.
How about Asuka?
Asuka, Osaka, Japan, the Raw Women's Champion. Now, Asuka.
You guys in the comments are going to be like, well, how come you didn't do this one? How come you didn't do that one?
Of course they will.
Well, there's so many.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe to wrap things up, can you give us a Shinsuke?
Okay. The artist known as Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm like worried my neighbors are going to be like, what's this guy doing over there?
He's doing his job is what he's doing. Thank you so much, man.
Anytime. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Man, what a guy. What a great guy. I think moving forward, we should now refer to him as Great Hamilton. Great guy, great conversation, great downtown loft. And you can see more of that loft on Greg Hamilton's WWEats. I will put a link down below so you can subscribe to his YouTube channel. He has some amazing content, some incredible videos on there. So make sure you give him a subscribe. Also, if you're watching this right now and you know anything about making a Wikipedia page, it is just a travesty that Great Hamilton does not have a Wikipedia page. So let's get on that. I know it takes like a month or so for it to be approved. So mid-July-ish, I'll be looking for that Great Hamilton Wikipedia page. That's right, Great Hamilton. I've really enjoyed that conversation. It was so nice to be able to sit in the same room as somebody, face to face, and have that conversation. I'm hoping that we'll be able to do some more of those coming up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, well, now's the time to do it, as we are on that road to 1 million. Might take a while, but we are on that road.